Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Francesca from No Longer Silent. I am so glad to be back. I'm going to wait for a couple of people to come on tonight. Um, we had a beautiful, beautiful memorial for Dr. James this week, and I was glad that the family was on. But today's topic is going to be when women and men are in a relationship and it goes wrong. So that's tonight's topic because sometimes in relationships, we have our ups and downs, and nothing's perfect. So I can say the least. I was married for 17 years, and 6 years in, everything was picture perfect. But after that, it was hands down horrible. So tonight we're going to talk about how, sometimes when we stay in relationships, how it tends to go the other way. Me being one that is always watching the news, I see a lot of suicide that's committed where if you're not mine, you're nobody's, and, he kills his wife, and then minutes later, he kills himself. So it's an awful tragedy to see this, going on sometimes. And we have to change it up. But as always, I always have a poem that goes, Father God always helps me put, a poem with my topic. And it says, I walk this planet alone. I walk this planet alone. Somewhere along the way, I got lost. I think I'm halfway to hell, so take another turn. I feel so imbalanced. But I don't mind. All I know is that I don't know what road I am on. Now and again I would say goodbye to the world, but lately I feel so hollow inside. Who are you to say that the rain does not fall? All I feel a little lost now. Now I can shut out the world. It's getting to me. Would you walk with me to the end of the time? So I'm losing my touch with reality, finding the way to a better life. But which way do I go from here? There's no words that can help you. Now, feeling like there is an empty space between us, but now I think it's time to end this torment that you put me through. My heart is racing out of control, so I walk this planet alone, only to find my way towards the end of time. This poem is called Walk This Planet Alone. Like I always say, sometimes in relationship, we stay in a relationship for good reasons. The courtship is beautiful from the beginning, but then when we get to know each other in the home set, stuff is different. You might find stuff that's wrong with him or her, and you don't know how to address it. And as the years go by, sometimes arguments get intense. They really get intense, but a lot of communication and respect comes a long way. Later on, I would put a song that has a significance to walk this planet alone, and the song later on, which I don't own the copyrights, would be Runaway. It's absolutely beautiful. It describes how you try to leave, you find it hard to leave, but it's like, I'm not saying that it's not impossible, but there is a silver lining all the time at the end of the rainbow. Many people have asked me what's the definition of domestic violence, and the pattern is, a lot of coercion behavior, including physical, psychology attacks, as well as economical coercion, and in adults and adolescents, and even with their intimate partners. Domestic violence has different patterns of behavior, including variety of tactics, some physical injuries and some not, some criminal and some not, carried out in multiple, sometimes daily episodes. So there's a lot of patterns into domestic violence, and it's not just, physical or verbal. There's a lot that comes into it. There's assaults and coercion behaviors, and like I said, physical, sexual attacks. And coercion is the worst because a tendency, a woman and a man will say, I won't do it again, I'm sorry, and then the next day it starts all over again. So the combination of physical force and terror used by the perpetrator that can cause physical and physiological harm to the victim and children. Sometimes our children are involved. It's very hard for it to be avoidable because if you have children, and they're in the room, they'll hear mommy and daddy screaming. Sometimes they don't understand. And the pattern of the purpose behavior is directed at achieving compliance form of control over the victim. And sometimes the person chooses what you wear, where to go, who not to hang out with, and we can't allow that. So the behavior on the perpetrator is by adults, adolescents, against their intimate partner in current formal dating, married, prohibiting relationship, heterosexual, gays and lesbians, and open relationships, where we have to sometimes be very careful also when they're open relationships. Domestic violence status, occasionally they said 1 out of every 3 women will be abused at some point in their life, and the statistics are very, very high in women. Believe it or not, the statistics are very, very high in heterosexuals, and when gays are coming out, there's a lot of abuse. Battering is the single major cause of injury to women, exceeding rape, muggings, and auto accidents combined. You see, so there's a lot of statistics out there that I've been informing myself that it's not just physical and verbal. There's more to domestic violence. A woman is more likely to be killed by a male partner or former partner than any other person, which is true. Now in the news, you're seeing more and more abuse women in different countries that I've been seeing where women are, stabbed and shot, and sometimes the partner has that same, if you can't be mine, you can't be no one's. And later on, the person decides to kill themselves, where they call it murder-suicide. About 4,000 women die each year due to domestic violence. That is a high number. A total domestic violence homicide is 75% of the victims were killed as they attempt to leave the relationship or after the relationship has ended. So that's why my topic tonight is when you stay in a relationship, what happens afterwards, what goes wrong. And a lot of things can go wrong when you're trying to leave the relationship and the person will accept it. And 9 out of 10, when you do leave the relationship, the person stalks you and, sets out to do what he's going to do. So those two, commonly 75% is a very high percentage, it's never low. 73% of male abusers were abused as children. Sometimes we can never tap into that person's mindset of why he's doing what he's doing to us, or her what she's doing to her partner. And it goes back to where, it can go back to their childhood where they were molested. Them too were raped when they were small. We have pedophilias out there, commonly sometimes in the family, around friends, and that tends to be true. Anybody else I have mentored will go back to where they abused alcohol, they abused drugs, and they'll say, my mom did this to me, or my dad did this to me when I was growing up. And the father figure in the household, 9 out of 10, to build that structure in the home, they would use physical force in where there was always slapping, hitting, belts, and stuff like that. And the child grows to be immune to the beatings, and where that is all he lived through and all he survived through. And when he, as an adult, gets into a relationship and never had an outlet of counseling into the relationship, if the woman was to get loud with him, it would trigger the past, and he will react. This was done to me. I'm going to do this. So there's no control. Is there? Can I safely say that that's condonable? Absolutely not. There's help for that. Unfortunately, sometimes we do not face that type of trauma that happened in the past. And I've seen that as I've been mentoring and they regret it in the long run, because sometimes they say, that was the woman of my dreams. I can't believe I lost her. She's not coming back because of what I did to her. And that's occasionally what happens when they feel the guilt and the shame. 30% of Americans say they know a woman who has been physically abused by her husband in the past year. Women of all races are equally vulnerable to violence by an intimate partner. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Arabic, Spanish, Haitian, Chinese. It happens in all, diverse relationships. That shows 70% were murdered by their battered or killed while they leave or after they leave the relationship. On an average, more than 3 women are murdered by their husband or partner in this country almost every day. Keep in mind that sometimes, somewhere around the world, somewhere around here, in a fraction of a minute or even a second, a woman is being raped. And I'm not talking about hours. I'm talking about fractions of a minute or a second. Intimate partner violence, a crime that largely affects women. In 1999, women accounted for 85% of the victims of intimate partner violence. That means it was their husband. And 85%, I have to say, is actually a big percentage, too. We're not talking about under 40, under 30. So that means that domestic violence, instead of decreasing, is increasing. On an average, a woman will leave an abusive relationship 7 times before she leaves for good. And that's absolutely true. Sometimes the numbers can be higher because he'll say, I'll never do it again. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'll get help. It never happens. And it's a repeated cycle, and which is sad. So when she finally decides to leave, we never know what the individual in his head is thinking, accepting the fact that she walked away. And he can kind of go crazy in the head and say, listen, if she starts over in another relationship, I'm not having that. So I'm going to be watching what she does, where she goes, who she does, and that shouldn't be, because if she walked away, I have a thing where if it's done in a proper way, seek help. So you don't bring that to the next relationship. So approximately 75% of women who are killed by their battered are murdered when they attempt to leave or after they had left an abusive relationship. So either or sometimes is terrible. But like I always say, and I've always been saying, love is not supposed to hurt. Love is supposed to be something beautiful. And I always say, if you're dating, please look for the red flags, because sometimes they can be on the first date when you're getting to know each other. As the relationships start progressing, you can start seeing stuff, start questioning, get to know the family, which, when you get to meet the mother, and the mother does spill the beans sometimes, saying, my son, when he was growing up, he was very athletic, sweet boy. Get to know the family, friends, surroundings, so you can be more acquainted of who you're getting involved with. I have to say that I got married too soon. 2 months was too soon, but I didn't see any red flags at the moment. I can genuinely say I was, in love with him, and he was in love with me. I can honestly say that. But like I said, 6 years in, everything was wonderful, and then everything started turning to the left. Frequently asked questions about domestic violence is, do women stay in abusive relationship because they like the abuse? Okay. I have a testimony I have to throw up here. When I went to a speaking engagement and I told my story, the repeated stuff that the individual did to me, someone in the audience, which was a woman, and no judgmental, because when you're speaking and you're telling your testimony, they're going to ask you questions. I had a woman ask me, why did you stay so long? Why did I stay so long? And on top of that, why did I allow that happening to me when I had an outlet to leave? And did I like it? Did I stay because I got used to the routine? And inside of me, I didn't show it outside, but inside of me, I was like, oh my God, what kind of question is that? Who's going to like an individual, hitting you and physically and verbally abusing you? But I had to answer the question to the best of my knowledge. Deep inside my soul, I told the lady, with all due respect, I don't think anybody would like someone abusing them every day, or verbally or physically. Me, because I didn't have that surrounding around me help. And I told her what my mother responded to me, and she was the woman that birthed me, was supposed to get me out of that situation. Instead, she told me to fix it, that it was like all in my head, or I was doing something that was upsetting him, and just basically fix it. So when I told her, when you don't have that support around you and you're having people telling you negative things and they think you're the problem, then there's no outlet for you to remove yourself from that situation. I myself, if I see my kids in a situation like that and they reach out to me and they tell me this is what's going on, if I lived through it, I wouldn't want my children living through it, because I would tell them, do you want to be the rest of your life with this individual and wind up turning out like me, that I can honestly say I lost 17 years of my life with this individual, just to see that I was just mistreated by him. So, of course, no woman or no man asked to be abused and also doesn't like it. So at the end of the testimony and the Q&A, the lady did come up to me and apologize. I said, no apology. Every time I speak, I like people asking me tough questions because they need to be answered. It takes a bold person to ask you, you liked being abused, and in fact I didn't. Then I had someone tell me, when that was occurring with you, when he forced himself on you, why didn't you call the cops? At that moment, you get timid, you get scared. He would threaten me, and you will not reach out because, like I said, statistics, 9 out of 10, the cops sometimes don't believe you. When you report this stuff, they say, well, he's the husband, how he's capable. Yes, he is capable. If there's no bruises or markings, then they don't tend to believe you. But now, because of uprising of domestic violence, that outlet has changed. So no one wants to be hurt or beaten or to feel inferior. A woman stays in an abusive relationship for a number of reasons. Women may have nowhere to go. They may believe that it is better for their children to stay in that stable home. For many women, the reason they stay is because of fear. And statistics shows that 7% of the women who are murdered by their barrier are killed when they leave, and they leave the relationship. So in that statistic, it's true. Sometimes they start looking, can I financially, take the burden of raising my kids, of being able to pay everything in the household. If it was 50-50, if it was the majority him, that's why sometimes women, stay out of fear. What am I going to do? Can I possibly do this by myself? Can I live without him? And I have to say I'm a firm believer. Yes, you can. Men and women, yes, you can. I'm proof. I stuck it out. I had to get different things for me to do to keep up, to pay the rent, to pay the light, to pay the phone, put food on the table. But I was able to do it. And anybody can do it if you put God first, because that's what I did. I was scared. I said, okay, I'm in this apartment. The rent is so-and-so. The light is so-and-so, and food, how can I do it on one salary with 3 children? And I can definitely say I did it. And there was no fear. Sometimes I look at it, when we're born, we're naked, we are clothed and we are fed. But then when we turn 18 and move on and get a job and set out to go in life, it's a challenge, So when you look at that, our young people that are growing up now, coming out of high school and college, that have that challenge where they have to get a job, and they start seeing what we went through. I have to say that my daughter values me as a mother, values me as a grandmother, her being a mother of 3 children, 2 with autism, nonverbal, and she says, Mom, I admire you because I don't know how you did it. And I'm blessed to have you helping me now because sometimes we don't have that. I didn't have that help. I raised my children to the best I can. And now my daughter has that help for me because I understand it could be overwhelming. That I hear sometimes you got to let her go through it. That's my child. I am not going to let her go through it. But she knows as a mother how hard it is to keep a household, work, clean, food shop, and tend to the 3 kids, get them off to school, to 3 different schools. And she sees that, and she admires the fact that I was able to raise them, never got in trouble, were excellent students. I was always involved in the school, involved at home. They were never outside because you was not going to get me into that situation or problem or even have me go to jail. So now she knows what it is to be a responsible parent. So if she was to go on her own and leave her marriage, she would know exactly what to do. And I educated her like I educate my son all the time. Never allow your partner to physically or verbally abuse you because you are not here for that. And my story and my testimony has helped them because they never knew what I was going through. It's helped them not only to love me more, but to understand my mission as to why I took this journey. And they know what they can accept and what they can walk away from and know that it's not supposed to hurt. Like I said, my grandson's 8 years old. I educate him all the time, too. Is never too young to not speak truth. And I am honored to say that me and him have an open communication. There's a lot of stuff that we talk because they're small. They go through bullying at school. And I tell him, do not hit the child. Go to a teacher. Go to the principal. Tell them what's going on. They don't listen to you, then grandma or mom is going to handle it. Because in life, as they're growing up, they do go through a lot of challenges. They go through a lot of trauma. They go through a lot of stuff that they can't deal with. They go through stuff that they think they can't come to you and say of embarrassment, of shame, or just basically keep it inside, which is worse. And then we see the patterns of their attitude changing, why they're doing this. You know, he was doing this before, now he's lacking over here, and then you got to start investigating as to why the mood changed. So I never keep anything from my kids, and they have to understand that in the relationship, it takes 2. And if one starts and you can't handle it, there's nothing wrong with walking away and going on your own. It's better to be alone than to suffer with someone and have that misery all your life. Why do people become batterers? There's no single reason for abuse. Violence is a means of trying to exercise power and control someone else. Many batterers were victims of abuse as children or came from families in which spouse abuse was prevented. It's important to remember, however, that not all people who were victims of child abuse were turned into batterers. I myself, again, another testimony, when I spoke in East Orange, I was asked, because of everything I went through in my life, did it ever occur to abuse my children? Never. My children can never say I raised my voice to them. Never. I didn't believe in hitting them. I was believe in taking away TV, playtime, and they understood there was no reason for me to put hands on them. My childhood, as to say, growing up wasn't all perfect, but I didn't, that's the word I'm looking for. I didn't let that affect me to get into a relationship because I knew what was right and wrong, and I knew who I was hooking up with had no fault in that situation. Can you identify a potential batterer when you meet him or her? That's when I said the red flags. Just as there is not one reason for abuse, there's not one type of batterer. Many batterers are highly successful professionals in other areas of their lives with history in society to support their beliefs. They may have little remorse or regret over battering. We have a lot in society, prominent people that are rich. Women will not leave their husband no matter what they do because of the high finance life they're living. And ask yourself, is that, a way to live? Is that happiness? All for money, all for the house, the cars, the shopping? No. So there in high society, you see a lot of domestic violence. And sometimes when they reach out to the friends, I've seen it commonly say, don't say nothing, take it, the money's good, the shopping's good. He'll say, I'm sorry, bring you a box of chocolate, flowers. That does not fix the emotional thing this woman or this guy goes through. That is horrible. And it has happened. We can't look at the poor section. We got to look at the rich section. Are victims of domestic violence weak people? Absolutely not. The fact that people experience domestic violence doesn't make them inherently weak. Through manipulation, coercion, abusers have chipped away at victims' self-esteem. Sometimes this process happens so substantially that the victim is unaware of physically, emotionally, or other types of abuse that often precede in physical violence attack. In addition, it is important to note that many victims grow up in homes where there was excessive violence, turbulence. They may have seen their parents abuse alcohol and drugs, consequently blame themselves for the dysfunctional unhappiness. What I said from the beginning when I was talking, that does happen when the home is dysfunctional and you see a lot of, arguments and stuff like that. And the child start growing up that they think is a normal routine when in fact it's not a normal routine. It's not. Absolutely, we are here to be love, have love in our surroundings, build our children with love. There's a cycle that comes with abuse. There's not only alcohol, drugs. The kid can grow up robbing. The kid can stay in the streets where he'll think that the streets is better than the home, because it's that dysfunctional. And then we lose our children to the streets because they can't take the family setting anymore. So there's a lot that goes into domestic violence. What do an abused woman want or need? The first thing that an abused woman needs to be is safe. If she's in danger, it's very difficult to think beyond the immediate crisis. She does not need someone to tell her, snap out of it. We have to be very careful how we talk to someone that's going through domestic violence. And death also, you have people say, oh, get over it. The person died. Can you bring the person back? That's a very ignorant statement, and snap out of it is very insulting to her being in that position. Basically, a victim needs support, someone that will listen to her and need information and services and all the above, respect. Every client that I have approached and I have spoken to, I treat them with the utmost respect. And sometimes when they don't know what to do because they say, well, I love him. I know he's doing this to me, but I don't want to leave him because I love him. I tend to show them pictures of what I looked like when I went through what I went through. And I tell my testimony, or when they have an opportunity, I send them a broadcast of my interviews. And I said, listen, I want you to watch something. And when you finish watching it, please reach out to me and you tell me what you think. Do I look like what I went through? Did I say I was going to stay? Did I leave? How much pain I went through in that relationship? And sometimes they'd be like, "Wow, did he really do this to you? How did you feel when he did?" Well, I can be transparent. How did you feel when he was raping you? How did you overcome that? And I would tell the person it wasn't an easy thing to overcome because nowadays, I remarried. And when I remarried, it was the opposite of the first relationship. God rest his soul. He was a beautiful person. And I did not bring anything that I went through in the past into that new relationship. And furthermore, he was a man of God. He believed too much in God. There were some times that if he saw me, agitated, anxious, there was a way for him to meditate with me and talk to me to calm me down. And we never had, in the 6 months in the relationship, any arguments whatsoever, because he knew basically how to handle me because he knew of my background. So that was, very patient and loving on him and understanding of my feelings. So like I said, may he rest in peace because he was a good one. So is it true that most violent relationships go through cycles, from tensions building to active battering, incident leading to the honeymoon or the remorseful stage? As I took my domestic violence coach classes, my professor used to always say the honeymoon stage, and I used to say the honeymoon stage. He was like, yeah, that's when everything is wonderful, but then he would start with the insults. You're ugly, you're not doing this right, and he would never feel remorseful. It would be a pattern all the time. He often called me stupid. He often called me ugly. I wasn't going to amount to nothing, and he tried to bring my self-esteem to the ground, whereas I thought that I was. I never looked in the mirror because I said, I'm not going to look at anything in the mirror because I thought I was ugly. I thought I was worthless. I thought I was stupid. And now I don't feel none of the above. As I look at the mirror, I know the mirror has to say, this woman has to get from in front of this mirror. She has me sick and tired, always looking at herself. So I finally tapped into looking in the mirror and saying to myself, do I like what I'm looking at? And I absolutely love what I'm looking at. I look in the mirror. I look from head to toe. And I have to love myself before I love anyone. I can't give myself to anybody if I don't love myself first. You can't, as women and as men too, look for validation either. Absolutely not. You got to love yourself. So this pattern called the cycle of violence came from the battered women movement in 1970. The idea has changed over the years because many women found their relationship did not go these phases. For some people, there was no honeymoon phase. To others, there was tension. Women's rights activists today have changed that model, which is absolutely right. I'm one of those persons. I educate my survivors that are no longer victims, where we don't have to tolerate certain things. We don't have to tolerate abuse. We don't have to tolerate physical and verbal abuse. We're not here for that. If that relationship doesn't work, there is the door where you can walk out, where you're safe, where it's better. Obtain a restraining order if the relationship was very abusive and still walking out, he threatens you. Take that very, very, very lightly, because we're living at times now where, if you're not mine, you're not going to be nobody else. It's drastically growing every day. I don't like looking at the news because you see now the pattern where not only doesn't he kills her, he kills the child and he offs himself. Now it's no longer I'm going to jail. He knows he's going to jail, and he figures, well, I'm not going to go to jail for many years because of this incident, so I'm going to off myself and we're all together, which is a tragedy. Very, very sad. Very sad indeed, but this is the time we're living now when I'm seeing domestic violence. Everywhere I turn around, I hear, did you see this clipping? Did you read on this? And I'd be like, wow, it's different now. Very, very different to what it was back in the days. And I'm trying to form a legislature where the person, if it's a repeat offender, the person needs to go, to jail. To jail for what he has done. So, are men violent because they lose control? No. Domestic violence is not a form of losing control. It's an attempt at gaining control. Most acts of violence are premeditated, occurring behind closed doors. It may seem as though the batterer is losing control because of his anger behavior. To that end, most batterers are very good manipulators. They know how to convince the others, and their victims are not at fault for their actions. So, yes, they absolutely are at fault for their actions. They have a tendency to say, you made me do it. Why you got me upset? Um, you're always doing stuff wrong. You're always setting me up. You're setting me up. Um, I don't want you speaking to me right now at this moment. So it's just a lot of stuff that goes on. And I'm not going to say senseless stuff. And then gaining control if you have a tendency of hanging out with your girlfriends or staying out late from work. Why weren't you home? I called you, you didn't pick up. That will set a fuse and it will set anger towards the person. So is there, like, they lose control? No, there has to be stuff leading up to that situation. Is domestic violence less of a problem between same-sex couples? Study has shown violence in the same-sex relationship is as common as a heterosexual relationship. Sometimes the violence is less and noticeable because of the conceived notion of the gender role. When men fight, people tend to view it as natural because boys will be boys, women because they are stereotyped as sensitive and passive and not expected to be violent. So with that being said, that in itself, we always heard boys will be boys and women are very sensitive. No, when someone is hurting you, you are allowed to express how you feel. You know, this person is hurting you. This is not a notion I'm going to take it. You know, it doesn't work like that now. And we can't except boys will be boys because you know what, we can't allow a man or a woman to put hands on you. We can't allow a man or a woman to verbally say stuff to us. Words carry weight. Fist hurts. So before I continue, does anyone have anything to say? Okay. There will be an intermission where I will be putting a song towards this topic tonight. Please listen to the words because it's kind of a strong song indicating what people go through. And I don't own the copyright of the song, and it's called "Run Away."
This is Brian, Francesca. How's everybody tonight? Good evening out there in podcast land. This is Brian. How's everybody tonight?
Well, the song was called Run Away, and she didn't want to go back home, but that's all she known was home. But she wanted to leave the situation and no longer suffer, so she looked as running away. Moments in my life, I wanted to walk away many times, and I didn't do it. And I have regrets. I should have not stayed so long, but the song is very impacting. I've listened to it 3 times. Sometimes we are in that world where we want to run away from the situation. Absolutely, because who wants to be heard? Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, hello. Hello, podcast land.
Yes, hi. I can hear you.
The story.
Yeah, I'll let you in a few. So yeah, so domestic violence has a lot a lot of factors. One of them is drugs and alcohol can cause domestic violence, of course. The need to exercise power and control is always in effect. Drugs and alcohol takes control of your mind. You lose sense of what you're doing. The person feels more powerful under the influence of alcohol and drugs, where the verbal and physical abuse gets very, very, very intense. Some people say no, but it's absolutely true. It was a factor in my life that I found out down the road that he started, using alcohol and hanging out with his friends and then coming home with them, and I had to deal with that factor. And if I didn't feel good about it, then the next day, basically, I paid for it. Why do women stay? And I have to say, why do women and men stay? The question often is asked by society, why don't battered women leave their abusers? Like I said from the beginning, when I spoke to Denise Orange and I told my testimony, which I was married for 17 years, someone asked me in the audience, why did I stay? Did I like the abuse? And my head was like, I can't, no judgmental. Anybody was able to ask me anything, and it was a question that was never asked of me. And I told her, when you had no outlet, no family support, no friend support on either side, it was hard to try to get out of that situation. Did I like the abuse? Absolutely not. Who likes to get hit? Who likes to get screamed at? No one. So I told her if I had that support back then, like I'm giving it today, maybe, just maybe, I would have never lasted so long being married. I thank God that, I had to go through that situation, because now who's going through that, they have the strength to walk away no matter how bad they love that person, but they know their self-worth is more important, and their child's safety and their safety is much, much important. And like I said, as for the guy and as for the woman, and subtitles, they say that the women are to blame when they are unable to lead the abusive partners. There I can honestly say there's no blame. There's a lot of love involved. They say, I don't want to leave him. I love him. I think he can change. Same thing for, the women saying that towards the guy. And the guy, have a tendency, I love her. I don't want to leave her. I know I can change. 9 out of 10, I'm a firm believer. I've met a lot of relationships that have stayed together and stuck it out. And I've asked them, have you ever had any altercations into your marriage? And they said, yes, he's cheated. He's done this, but we have gotten counseling. We have gotten a church. And I've seen people married 25, 30 years, and they had all that into the relationship, but they seem to surpass it and stay together. That's wonderful if you can do that. In my case, there was no going back, no matter how much he begged and pleaded. That was not the way for me to live, honestly, for me or my children that they didn't know. Number of reasons why women stay is because they feel compelled. They don't want to walk away because of support. Financially, they get scared. The fear of knowing that how am I going to pay this and that if he was the sole provider. Like I said, I made it through. I got out of that situation. My main goal was my thing with God where I said I can do this. And like I said, I multitasked and got various jobs, and I was able to get on my feet and demonstrate to the person that when you said I was ugly, I turned into a beauty queen. Nowadays, I model for companies, for fashion shows. I wasn't going to amount to anything, and I studied and now I'm going to say, unfortunately, I had like 35 titles to my head because I studied everything from violence to drugs to human trafficking. And I never told him to his face what I became or what I've become. He sees it for his own self through social media. And that to me was a slap on the face to realize that what you said was an amount to nothing, which was ugly. And I wasn't going to go anywhere. I proved him wrong, but in reality, I showed myself that words to me didn't carry weight. So to me, I'm very, very happy to have demonstrate that all those words he said, I turned them around for myself and showed them that, yes, I can. And also being a mother of three, which really he wasn't that kind of a father figure in the first place, and I raised my children, I would say, like by myself. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into when you walk away, the fear that you raise your children by yourself financially, getting up and picking up the pieces, healing yourself at the same time and keep it moving. You feel the guilt, the lack of self-esteem, thinking you can't love again, how society, if you were role models in social media, which to us, they highly looked at us as the number one marriage, that they didn't think in this society that we were ever going to break up. But when they found out the reason why, they were like, wow, y'all looked at like the perfect couple. I hid whatever he did to me in galas and stuff like that so well. They thought we were like the perfect couple, like nothing was going on with us the years that we were together. And lo and behold, if they only knew what I held behind, closed doors. So it's okay to say you're not okay. And that's something I learned now, that when you don't feel right, speak it, mention it, express your feelings, because if you don't express your feelings, that person's not going to know and will continue to do the same pattern. I'm very outspoken. If you do something I don't like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I will let you know. And if you continue to do it, I distance myself to the point that you see that what you did bother me, and that you have to sit one day and wonder in your head how to fix that situation. Some of it doesn't have any remedy. People are who they are, and you can never change your partner. You would just have to just let them be or let her be, because we're not here to change anyone. But there is a silver lining at the end of the rainbow. When that individual can't treat you like a queen, the next person will be able and be capable to do what you're expecting and what you need out of that person. So yes, it does happen, and you have a tendency of finding that good man or that good woman. So I have Brian here on the line, and I know Brian has a couple of things that I know he would love to say. He was on about a week ago. He's very inspirational, very, very good friend of mine, and I just love everything he's doing. So, Brian, you have the floor.
First of all, I want to say hello to everyone in podcast land. I want to say to all the women that have been through domestic violence and have survived, that you survived for a purpose. The purpose you survived for is so that you can demonstrate to other women or men, if you're a male, that this thing is not going to kill you. As a matter of fact, it's probably going to make you a better person. You're stronger, you're wiser now. And for those of you who are in the faith-based community, your faith in God should be just a little bit higher, because if without him, you wouldn't have survived. So let's just celebrate God's goodness tonight. I understand pain and suffering. I understand abuse because I have a story myself. But for tonight, I believe that all of you on this line are champions. I believe all of you on this line are yet to see the best. This thing that happened to you is only working for your good. Just look at you now. Just take a look at yourself now. I think you can go and brush your shoulders off and be excited. I think you can go and brush your shoulders off and be excited, because everything they own is in the box to the left. So I just want to thank God tonight in a small prayer. Lord, I thank you for this podcast. I thank you for these people. I thank you for these women that are triumphant. I thank you, Lord, that when these women could not see their way out, when their feelings were crushed, when their love was crushed, when their eyes was all black, God, when they couldn't see anything, it was at that precise moment you became bigger. And for that, we just want to say thank you, God. We want to say thank you, God, because we are triumphant now. It looked like we were going to lose. It looked like death was going to have its way. But, God, you showed us that after you suffer a while, that you're going to be a champion. So we thank you tonight, Lord. I thank you for all these women. I thank you, God, that you have set them up on pedestals and that they're reaching for higher plateaus. As a matter of fact, I'm prophesying right now that you're going to reach for the moon and you're going to reach for the stars and you're going to soar, ladies. Ladies, you're going to soar, and you're not going to smile at anyone. You're not going to pick at anyone. You're not going to say, nah, look at me now. You're just going to keep climbing higher and keep being beautiful. Keep being who God has called you to be. That is triumphant women, entrepreneurs, book writers, store owners, designers, all of that, mothers, good mothers, triumphant, educated, education, everything that the enemy tried to take from you. I declare tonight that for this season of 2024, you are going to have it back so much that you're going to scratch your head and say, what in the world am I going to do with all of these blessings? God is on your side, ladies. He is on your side. You lived because he is on your side. Amen. Just remember that. Just remember that. God is on your side. Now I need you to take that victory that you have and go out, and wherever you find a person that is going through what you've been through, I need you to speak to them in that same love that God gave you. Don't judge them. Don't say why you're still there. Don't say you got to leave. Just be an ear for them and help them understand that they are worth more than what they're receiving. But you got to do it very cautiously because they're already broken. They're already fractured. So you have to approach it with empathy. And once they trust you, then you can take them out. This is what I need you ladies to do tonight, because me as a man, this is what I do every day. Every day I'm always taking a self-examination of myself to see if there's anything in me that does not belong, and as soon as I recognize it, if I don't have the power to get rid of it, I give it to my God, who is more than able. So I want you ladies tonight to understand something. Since you survived, I want you to smile. I just want you to walk around and smile and just know that you're a winner. And you're serving a God that has never lost a fight. He's never lost a fight.
Hey.
I love you ladies tonight. I love you tonight. Stay triumphant. Keep doing what it is you do and just shine. Just shine, because your bad days are behind you. Your bad days are behind you. Francesca, keep doing what you're doing, sister girl. Keep on promoting this love thing. And I promise you, in a little while, evil will have to take a back seat.
Yep.
Amen. Amen.
True.
Enjoy the rest of your night, ladies. And just know that Brian loves you. If nobody told you today, Brian loves you. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay, stay tuned. Anyone has anything to say?
Yeah, hey, Francesca, how are you?
I'm good.
This is Lavinia.
Hey, honey. Oh, my God, my precious Lavinia from Florida. How are you doing?
I'm great. I've been listening, and I have enjoyed it, but you know me. I want women to remember this also when dealing with domestic violence, and men. Some of this stuff is generational, so watch your children. Watch how they react to the violence that goes on in your life and in your home, because I always have a rule with my grandkids. I tell my daughters and my sons, if the person in their life that they're dating has violent tendencies, I don't want that stain on my grandchildren. You get what I'm saying? They see it. And they do the same thing, and they think it's okay to do the same thing. With my husband, it was what he was brought up in. I never saw my mother get hit, so when I first got hit, I was pregnant. I was 16 and pregnant when he punched me, and my mom was shocked. My stepfather was shocked. I was not used to men and women doing that, whereas he was from his mother and father. And as we got older, I realized, okay, wait a minute. This is what he's learned, but I haven't learned this. But I was always a fighter. So I was the woman who, you hit me. Oh, I'm going to get my lick back, because you're not just going to put your hands on me. But then I had to start thinking about, I don't want my daughters to think like that. I don't want my sons to think like that, you know. So absolutely. I had a choice, because everything isn't just about the drugs, alcohol. Sometimes it is what they have been around all their lives that they bring into the relationship. Their trauma, their literal trauma as a kid that they've seen their parents go through, they incorporate it into your life and your relationship. And that's what we need to be careful of also. We need to watch our children and watch how people are and the things they display around our children. I don't know if you all remember the guy, Donnell Smith. He used to work at the Rainbow. He was the black security guard there. His wife killed him. Donnell wasn't a hitter. He never abused his wife. She even admitted it. But she would hit him, abuse him. Donnell was taught to walk away. And I remember her saying, I remember her saying the day she killed him was she was mad. He was walking away. And so she told him before she stabbed him, "You'll never walk away from me again." Wow. And she killed him. And I never got over, somewhere in me I buried that should I tell my daughters and my sons to walk away because they still might end up dead?
Yeah.
So it puts us between a rock and a hard place because we tell them, get out of there, walk away, don't argue, don't fight, just get away. But sometimes these people have that trauma, that fight in them, that anger, that issue that costs people their lives. I say to people, get help. Get help. If you're exploding like that and you're getting that mad at someone that you say your soul loves, get help, because that's not love. That is not love. That type of anger is never going to be love. Never.
Absolutely.
We got to protect our future, because a lot of these young men and women, they're hitting each other more so now than ever before. The locking up with the COVID and we can't go nowhere. Domestic violence has increased since COVID, and we got to be aware of that. Yeah, we got to be aware of that. But it's starting. Haven't you ever noticed that in elementary schools, you're seeing more kids, more boys and girls, literally physically fighting like cat and dog? They're literally fighting. Guys are fighting girls, girls are fighting guys, and they're saying, well, these girls act like they're boys. Well, these boys act like they're girls. It's not what people think. Sometimes it is just generational trauma that these kids are experiencing, and when they let loose, it doesn't matter to them who they let loose on.
Absolutely.
You know?
No, you're absolutely right.
It's just sad. And I don't want my grandkids to grow up in a world where I have to worry about, oh, he's dating that beautiful girl. Oh, but that beautiful girl has a temper, and she believes in poking him with stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to bury a child.
Nope.
Nobody.
I don't.
And our kids, though, they are being exposed to this so much. And like I said, I will tell a guy who dates my daughter, I have told a young man to his face, I don't want your stain on my grandson. I don't want that for them. My daughter doesn't need you in her life. And he was so mad at me that literally he's in jail right now for stalking me.
Oh, wow.
Like, you couldn't handle the fact that I was strong enough to tell you to your face, I want no parts of you. But I did the right thing because my daughter learned from me taking a stand who he really was. Who he really was in the very heart of him. Because I wasn't afraid of him. I was afraid of what he would do to my child and to my grandson. At the time, she just had her 3 boys, and now she has a girl. But, yeah, I wasn't worried about myself. I was worried about the stain he would put on her sons. I didn't want them to grow up and think the things he did to my daughter were okay.
Absolutely.
You know, we got to be careful, you know.
No, absolutely. And you know what? I admire you. I know you. I know you for a good long time. You're a very strong woman. And I can say that I've been there too. I love my daughter. She married someone that has, PST from that thing from the Army because he was, deployed and came back a little messed up. But when they got married, mothers have this instinct, and after everything I went through, I saw my daughter and I saw the little temper, and I had to sit him, Lavinia, I had to sit him down. I said, listen, I got something to tell you. I don't know which way you're going to take it, but I got to be honest, and my daughter knows how I am. I'm straightforward. I've been through a lot, and I told them, I said, I am a domestic violence, survivor, and I want you to know that she is my only daughter. I have 2 boys, but she's my only daughter, and I don't ever want you to put your hands on her. If you guys argue, okay, no words back and forth of disrespect, but you touch her, I'm literally letting you know I don't care how big you are. I will bury you. I will find you. And also with my grandkids, that two are not his, which is my granddaughter and my big grandson. You see those two, you are the stepfather. But if they need to be disciplined, let my daughter do that. I don't want you touching him. There was an incident that they moved up to upstate New York, and my grandson has that open communication with me, and he said it to me, infuriated me. I was like, when you guys come that weekend, it's on, and I didn't care where I lived. When I found out that weekend they came, I knocked on the door, and I told my daughter, I want him to come outside. I want him to come outside. I need to speak to him. And I said, you put your hands on my grandson, and I told you not to. And that's a problem right there for me. That hurts me, and that bothers me, and there better not be repercussions that he opened up to me, because I raised him since he was little, and we had that open communication, and I'm the one in his life that protects him. If you ever put your hands on him, we're going to have a problem. And if you go up to him and address that, why he told me, I'll find out, and we'll have even a bigger problem. And after that, it was squashed. He hasn't touched him anymore. He speaks to him. You can discipline him in many ways without putting your hands on him. And it was addressed, and he knows. Later down in life, he told my daughter, I'm afraid your mother's a hard knocker, and I don't want to mess with her. And I would never put my hands on you. He is the type that if they do get into an altercation, they're going to be married 5 years. They're young. You know, she's 27. I think he's 25. They're young. And he walks away if he's upset. He drives around. She does the same thing. I'd rather you guys do that than have a confrontation. But he's, like I said at the beginning, he's afraid of me to even step that boundary, because he knows if my foot is a size 7, it can be a 13, and it will go the wrong way with me. So we have that mutual respect and that understanding, and where I stand that don't touch her and don't touch my grandkids. And like you said, we have to be open now with this new generation. Though my grandson is 8, we do have that open communication where I tell him, if someone touches you the wrong way, Mommy don't listen, you come to Grandma. If there's an altercation in school, please feel free to speak to me. I handle it. So we have that open communication. My grandson, follows everything I do. He knows every ins and outs, events and stuff. And I discuss it with him, because this new generation, let me tell you something, I may not know how to work my phone all the way through, but if you give it to a child that's 5, 6, 7, 8 and beyond, they know everything on your phone. They can show you instead of the store manager showing you how to mess with the phone. So technology with them is so on a high level where they see so much stuff. And it's better to sit down and say, listen, let's talk about this. My grandson knows what it is when someone dies. My daughter didn't want to have that conversation, but she had it. And he spoke to me one day, and he said, Grandma, Mom sat me down and spoke to me about this. I said, how you feel about it? He was like, well, I never want you to die, but I know you're going to go. But if you ever do go, he told me I'll have beautiful memories of you, but you're not going now. But when you do, I know it's going to hurt. So that's the mentality and the strength he has and knowledge to understand of death, that he knows people do not last forever. He understands, not like relationship when arguments happen is discussed as to why. And I tell my daughter, never around the children. You have 2 autistic children that may not be able to scream or say, but you have the one that's 8 that sees and listens, and I don't want it becoming a pattern where he thinks that when he grows up, Mommy and Daddy did it, I can do it because I saw it. We make him understand they had a little tip and tap, but if sometimes nothing's perfect. They might hear a little argument here or there, but they do sit down and say, listen, I'm sorry, me and Dad had a little, misunderstanding. It had nothing to do with you guys. It'll never happen again. She tries very hard that it doesn't happen in their surroundings, because the kids, they're very impressionable, and what they see is what they later on take, in life with them. So, like I said, I'm glad that I have that communication with them. The same thing with my boy. He had a relationship which was awful, and the girl was bigger than King Kong, and I'm a little skinny mini, and I went head on and I said, listen, that child right there, I birthed him, and he is a keeper, but I will not allow you screaming at him or even attempting to put hands, because as big as you are, you will fall. With me, you will fall. And later on in years, she told him, I am afraid of your mom, and I would never want to mess with that woman. Not today, not tomorrow, because I make it a need, like you said. I am a mother, and when we birth these children and we raise them, anything that happens to them in life, we're going to feel it. It's going to hurt us, and we don't want that.
Yes.
You know? So I understand, fully. I'm sorry to hear about the gentleman that, passed away because of what she did, because they always, I emphasize domestic violence, that is not just men that do this. We have women that also are the abusers, and sometimes they'd be like, oh, how can a woman abuse a man? Yeah, there's different types of way. I had a segment, Lavina, not too long ago. I think it was in the summer, where I said I'm mentoring, a man was being raped by his own wife. And he was getting sick and tired of it. And he was embarrassed to tell me, and I said, what is going on? And he was like, she is raping me, and I'm getting tired. And not only that, she verbally abused me. She hits me with this and this. And you know what was his answer why he didn't leave? His children.
Yeah.
And his children. He said, I'm sticking it out because I'm a good guy, and I know and I realize she is the problem, but it's my children. That's why I don't leave. And 20 years in, he's still in the relationship. I still mentor him, and I tell him, I'm not going to tell you to leave her, but please be careful, because if it starts with you, then it'll escalate with the children, and I don't know what might happen afterwards if she has that kind of temper. Just be careful, execute an escape plan for you and your children, and down the road when you decide to leave her, 9 and a 10, with so much receipts, so much reports, you'll be able to be the one that have full custody of the children because of her actions. So we do have men that go through, different situations, and I used to sit back and say, no, it's just women getting abused. As I'm entering this field, the stuff I hear through men, I just be like, oh my God. And not only men, I've also mentored people that have come out that they say that their partner is abusing them, they're over jealous, they don't like them doing this and doing that. And sometimes it ends, I had one that I lost about 2 years ago when I started doing my domestic violence awareness. And she was so happy to come to my event that Saturday here in Patterson. And unfortunately, he followed her to her job, because he said, in his head, I think he was saying, well, I'm going to see her. The shelter can't keep her too long. And unfortunately, that day that she set out to go to work, she came out, he stabbed her over 20-something times.
Oh, Lord.
And my event was that week on that Saturday, and I got the phone call on that Sunday, a week before my event, the news clipping and everything that she has passed. And I almost canceled the event. I cried in tears because she was always thanking me for helping her. She left behind a 1-year-old. He's in jail. Now this child is left without a father and a mother. And she was only 20 years old.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Doing the right thing. So I see that situation, and you sometimes in your children, you fear that situation, and you always say you'll never want that knocking on your door. And she was doing the right thing, going to school, work, and taking care of her child, and thanking me for always being there, a phone call away. And when that happened, I still did my event in her honor. It took a lot of strength to do that because we had a connection, always speaking. And that day I said I lost a warrior, not a victim, but a warrior that did the right thing. And unfortunately, her innocent life was taken away from doing the right thing, because that individual chose that if she's not mine, she will be absolutely no one's. So we see a lot of situations that a lot of people don't want to believe, but we have to always look at the red flags. If you're dating, I said from the beginning of the program, please get to know the family, his friends, surroundings. Don't jump into the relationship so quickly. I'm very transparent. I jumped into mine 2 months, and it was peaches and creams, love over here, love over there, taking me here, taking me there, and we quickly married. And I got to meet his family throughout the relationship. They seemed very solid, but he unfortunately, out of 36 brothers, he fell through the cracks. Everybody else was okay. The family was okay. There was no situation of abuse. There was no arguments with the parents, nothing. Till this day, they wonder when they see my podcast, which hurts my heart, for them to see what heinous stuff this man did to me, and they ask themselves, like, why? Why did my son did this to you? I can't believe it, but he did. And the family was solid. There was nothing wrong in the family setting, absolutely. It was just him, basically, something he was going through. A power trip, a controlling trip, a macho trip or something, but
I'm so sorry you went through that, because that is not good.
I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, I'm still on.
Right.
Is Francesca still on?
Who?
Okay, are you part of the call for the show on domestic violence?
I listen to grown folks. I mean, I domestic violence. I'm listening to it. Yeah, what happened about domestic violence?
Okay, it went off. Something's happening. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
We
Hello?
still on. Listen. Can you hear me?
Can hear you. Hey, Latoya.
Marcus, how are you?
I'm good.
I think what happened with Francesca, it sounded like she had a drop call. Other people's hanging up, but I don't think she ended the phone. I don't think she hung up. And that was the end of the show.
No, not because the show is actually still on, still going. I guess she has to come back in.
Right.
So, I mean, we can just wait for it because I don't think it's over yet.
No, not at all. Not at all.
How are you?
What I'm doing okay. God get me through it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to hear that. Yes.
Yeah. What I'm going to do is I have my other cell phone. I'm going to give her a call while I'm on this one and see if everything is okay.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be here. So yeah, I'll be here.
Okay. Let me just put this phone on mute because my TV is on. I'll be right back.
I'll be here.
Okay.
Have you ever read? Oh, hang that up real quick. Somebody tried to call.
Mic check. Hello, who's there?
Yeah, I'm here, Brother Forrest. This is Marcus.
Marcus, hold on. I got Francesca on the other end. Hold on for a minute. Hey, do me a favor. Yeah, never mind. Hold on, brother. If anybody else is on, hold them on, Marcus. Hold them up for me for a minute. Hold on, brother.
All right. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Those you sound like you on here all by yourself.
They had I don't know, some kind of technical thing. They trying to straighten it out. So Forrest just came on and said they're working on it. So
okay.
letting everybody know, it's not over yet. So they just working there.
It's not over between you and me. It's not over. Don't want it to be. It's not over. Somebody else came on. Woo, God is good. Good.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So I just got the phone with Francesca. She was on the whole time. Something happened with her on her end, but she was listening to us. Her phone didn't stop. I don't know what happened to the volume, but she did say that the show was over and she will be on for next week.
Okay. You okay, Toya?
God get me through. It's getting me through.
That's good. You sound good.
Oh, yes. He's getting me through.
That's good.
Hello, mic check.
Yeah,
this is
I you.
Hello? Okay,
Yes.
Francesca's on. I brought her in. Francesca's here. Francesca, go ahead, sis.
Hey, sweethearts. I'm sorry for the little inconvenience, but I'm going to stop my show now. I'm just going to do 2 announcements. Thank you for everybody that came on to listen and give their, input. And if you guys are going to stick around, please, my colleague John Monroe will be at 8 o'clock for Vision Care. So stick around for his podcast. And also, Grown Folks Talking is going to have an event August the 10th, 2024. It's in Newark from 12 to 6. It's on Saturdays. More details to follow. And we are accepting donations. And anyone that would like to vend at the event, please reach out to me so I can give you the information. Thank you so much for being in No Longer Silence podcast, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Oh, we have CCC tonight at 9:30.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
God bless. Good night. I said we have CCC, Concerned Citizens Coalition, at 9:30 with Hamp and Everett.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank
All right,
you. See you
everybody.
next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Turn that recording off, please.
I can't do that for mine. The show's over. Craig, the show's over. Waiting for the next. What time?
Okay.